Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, James Anderson. Happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year to everyone watching. The RotoWire Dynasty rankings are fully updated as of about a week ago, so definitely check those out if you haven't already. YouTube 15 if you want to get 15% off RotoWire subscription. And then, of course, the big top 400 prospect rankings update will be January 15th, and lots of first-year player draft content coming in January as well. So be on the lookout for that. But on today's episode, got my friend KC Bubba coming on the pod again. We like to talk each winter about this particular topic, which is a look at roster resource. And it's not a knock on roster resource at all. It's more of a compliment that we know that so many smart people regularly are checking roster resource. It's a free resource out there. It's incredibly useful, but if we're able to pinpoint some potential inaccuracies on the roster resource depth charts, that can help give us a leg up in our fantasy baseball drafts, because playing time is, of course, king in fantasy baseball. So Bubba and I are going to be going back and forth, nominating some depth chart situations that we think are at least worth discussing, where maybe we might disagree with what roster resource is saying. But first of all, Bubba, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming back on the pod.
I am doing well. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It seems like we just did this not too long ago, so it's a good time as always, and I had a lot of fun doing the same topic as you mentioned last year, and kind of opens the eyes to looking at. Like you said, it's nothing against roster resource. It's more about where we can potentially find a weakness to attack for draft season before everyone else does.
Right. And I was on Bench with Bubba a little over a week ago, so definitely check that episode out. We got to talk about a lot of sophomore hitters and pitchers, so non-rookies. I feel like I'm always going on people's pods to just talk rookies, so I love going on with Bubba and kind of mixing it up, talking second and third year players. So check out that episode of Bench with Bubba if you missed that. But without any further ado, Bubba, I'll throw it to you. What's the first sort of depth chart situation you want to take a look at here?
Yeah, this is one that's getting more and more crowded by the day, because apparently the Cincinnati Reds think they need every outfielder that's a platoon outfielder. They want to be the Rays, essentially, it looks like, but in a better ballpark to hit in. So with all the additions of, JJ Bleday, and then they go and trade for Dane Myers, and you just go down on the list of options, somehow Sal Stewart is now on the bench. And this is one of those that I'm pretty sure you have on your list, because this is when these moves happened in a Bubba and the Bloom Discord, like everyone was furious about this. I said, guys, it's just a resource. We can make moves with this. We can take advantage of it if you like.
Yeah,
Sal Stewart's too good. You've talked about it probably a million times this season on all your prospect shows with how good he is. But the power speed that he showcased, especially last year in his age 21 season at AAA and even at AA and AAA, and then what I liked, he hit 255 in 18 games, but the plate skills and the power was still very, very good with Sal Stewart. His bat's too good to leave out of this lineup for the platooning options that are in Cincinnati. So, like, where you have Gavin Lux at DH, I'm sorry to Gavin's family if they're listening, but Sal Stewart should be playing over Gavin Lux every day that ends in Y. So that's mine. Sal Stewart he should not be on the bench.
I'm sure Gavin Lux's family knows better than to be listening to fantasy baseball
fantasy shows
content in December. We're probably not going to say anything nice about Gavin Lux. He got to play in 140 games last year, and he was basically replacement level. Had 5 home runs while getting to call Great American Ballpark home.
Yeah, it's crazy.
As basically a full-time player. So,
yes.
I'm sorry. To me, this is just it's almost a gift if people are panicking about this. And, I think it is tough. It's tough to kind of put yourself in the shoes of someone who's making like a depth chart for these teams, because you do have to make like tough calls. Like, are you willing to just say, like, I don't believe Gavin Lux is going to play this year and put him on the bench? Like, that's what I would do. But, I understand like that there might not be specific reporting out there saying, Gavin Lux is not going to play very much this year. But I mean, again, it's the whole, like, let's just rank the hitters on the Reds, and you don't have to get to 4 or 5 before you get to Sal Stewart. And
Exactly.
so they'll figure out a way to make this work. It's a lot of players, but not a lot of players better than Sal Stewart. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that was a kind of a layup one. I'm glad you let us off with that one.
That's why I figure we start with the easy one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's some different types of these, right? Where, like, you and I just disagree. Like, we think Sal Stewart is going to be a starter, and we think he's going to start over someone currently on the team that Roster Resource is saying is going to start over him. So we straight up disagree with what Roster Resource is saying here. I want to nominate a situation where it's like, I almost feel like Roster Resource is sort of doing its due diligence, but the Red Sox rotation, I can understand why you might not have Connelly Early penciled into it right now. They have Brian Bayo, they have Cutter Crawford coming back, Patrick Sandoval's out of options. But if I'm just doing this from a, like, rank Red Sox pitchers by how likely they are to be in the opening day rotation, I would have Early third behind Garrett Crochet and Sonny Gray. Like, I think it's more likely the Red Sox trade Brian Bayo than that Connelly Early opens the year in the minors. And I also think Connelly Early is he's going to make the rotation over one or two of these guys. I'm sure they'll give everyone, like, a fair shot, but I don't think Connelly Early is going to camp with a ticket to AAA coming in a few weeks. Like, I think he's going to camp as part of the team's big league rotation. He's not on the depth chart right now at Roster Resource, and I understand how you could get to that point at this stage of the offseason, but I just think when we get to mid-late March, it's going to be very clear that Connelly Early will be in the Red Sox rotation.
Yep, that was number 2 on my list. So we're on the same page here. As I had written down Peyton Tolley and or Connelly Early. Like, how are we just? But you make a great point. Like, they're doing their due diligence. Like, until a beat reporter comes out and says anything, and let's not forget it's just December 30th. So we, like, pitchers and catchers report in about 5 weeks. We'll start getting a little more clarity on some of this stuff with these young arms. But especially Early, he proved he should at least get a shot at this rotation. Like you mentioned, Bayo. Patrick Sandoval, like I get it. He's technically this quote unquote veteran compared to these guys, but he's also coming off injuries. Maybe he's better set for a 6-man role or a long reliever role. And Bayo probably is a better long reliever or a piggyback situation. So I agree tremendously. Like, looking at Connelly Early's ADP over the last 7 days, and in DC's, it's 232. Like, that's not a guy starting in the minor leagues. And you mentioned it on my show and others that these early drafts are people that actually are really into it. Like, they're deep in the weeds on things, and you kind of have to take certain things. If they're taking a Connelly Early at 232, there's probably enough of a group think that thinks this guy should be there. And it's just more Roster Resource, to your point, doing the due diligence to not have him there. But the Red Sox would be, unless they go and make another move, like they're saying they want to go add more starting pitching, well, then things get murky. But until they do that, Early and or Tolley should both be in that rotation.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited to watch Peyton Tolley this spring. I think he has a higher ceiling than Early long term, and I think he could absolutely kick the door down this spring. But I think that's more of a, like, Tolley would have to go to spring training and, like, win a job, whereas I think Early could go to spring training and just kind of do what's expected, and he's in. But it's very exciting. I mean, the Red Sox clearly value having lots of high end starting pitching, lots of rotation depth, which is certainly understandable. But nothing for Early or Tolley left to prove at AAA. So where do you want to go next here, Bubba?
I'm gonna go to a guy that you and I both kind of surprised each other on last year when we went team by team on these, and I'm gonna go to the White Sox and Lenyn Sosa. This is a guy that I'm still a believer in. I get he's probably headed towards someday just being a utility guy, but Lenyn Sosa is coming off 22 home runs, hit 264 in 140 games played. Very, very good production on a White Sox team that's going to be even potentially better this year with the additions of Murakami, for full season of Teal and others. But with the moves that they've made, i.e. Murakami and others, is Sosa's regulated to the bench. And like, again, I get what they're doing here, because if you have Murakami at first, you have Maidra at the second, Montgomery at short, and then you have Miguel Vargas at third, that makes things tricky. Now, my assumption would be they'd find a spot for Sosa to either play like a super utility, play probably 4 games a week, or like Brooks Baldwin was very serviceable, but we're almost in the Gavin Lux conversation again. You can move like a Miguel Vargas to the outfield, and now you have Lenyn Sosa availability back in that lineup. So there's a lot of moving pieces with the White Sox. I think the dust will settle and Sosa gets plenty of playing time again. But it's one of those when I'm looking at things, and I did not adjust my interest in him later in DCs. Let's put it that way. I think Sosa plays a ton. We saw a guy who's only going to be 26 as well. So it's not like he's that old yet, and we saw him be quite productive already. A guy that increased his quality of contact, 10.4% barrel in his first full season is outstanding. So I think they need him in that lineup more with this really good White Sox lineup that still has some minor leaguers coming up that can make it even better soon.
Yeah, I think it's like my initial read is it's going to be kind of more along what you said with like him being in the super utility role and playing like 4 or 5 days a week that way. Because I definitely think there's room on the depth chart for that to happen without even like trading Luis Robert. You know, Edgar Caro slotted in as the everyday DH on roster resource. Kyle Teal slotted in as the catcher. But I just don't like, I think Edgar Caro is going to play a decent amount at DH. I just don't think it's going to be like a everyday type of thing, right? Like, so, you know, Caro maybe gets 3 starts a week at DH, 1 or 2 starts a week at catcher. Sosa maybe gets like 2 starts a week at DH, and then he's also spelling all these other guys at different infield spots when they need a day off. And you know, they've got a handful of lefty batters that he can go in there and spare. So yeah, I think it's like, I'm not projecting. I don't think you have to project. I don't think people are out there projecting like 625 plate appearances for Lenyn Sosa, but I would certainly take the over on like 475. Like I'd probably set the over under at like 500 plate appearances for Sosa in 2026.
Like right now, you look at depth charts and Steam. Like Steamer's playing. We could do a whole podcast on that. They need to get that adjusted, please, quickly. But depth charts, like they have them at 84 games, 364 plate appearances. I'm taking the over on that one pretty easily.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of like, if you can find the projection spots there to go with roster resource, there's where your little angles can be made. And I think Sosa's still and your point about Carroll, like, yeah, he's a poor man's Alejandro Kirk basically right now. And maybe that changes, but I think there's room for other people at DH, to your point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Carroll, like, I would love it if we just got a little bit more clarity. Maybe even they trade like Caro. I mean, I know there was even rumors of like the Red Sox wanting to trade for Teal back.
Which would be so amazing if it happened.
But yeah. I mean, it does seem like they kind of have like, because I think Caro, I would be interested in buying low on him in Dynasty right now. I think he's got better days ahead as a producer, especially as a run producer. But yeah, I think Sosa, no reason to assume he's not going to play. Okay, I had a few of these that were kind of rotation related ones, and that's where it gets even trickier, I think, when you're doing these depth charts, is kind of figuring out who's getting that 5th spot in a rotation. I want to look at the Athletics. You know, on roster resource, they've got Luis Medina as the 5th starter. I think, you know, that's probably not going to happen. I mean, he is out of options, but they've got 2 very talented starters projected to start the year at AAA, and Jack Perkins and JT Ginn. Mm-hmm. And I think Jack Perkins, the health of his shoulder is a question as spring training approaches, but I think a healthy Jack Perkins is definitely in the rotation. And if Jack Perkins isn't healthy, I think JT Ginn's in the rotation. And, Medina, maybe he's a long reliever. Maybe he gets DFA'd. Maybe he's just a 1-inning reliever. But I don't see them just opening the year with Medina in one of the 5 rotation spots and all those guys at AAA. I mean, they've almost got too many starters for the AAA rotation.
Yep.
So I would not be avoiding like Jack Perkins at his price or JT Ginn at his price because Roster Resource has them projected to open at AAA.
Yeah, this is a really good one because you've done DCs, obviously. I've done DCs, and you see Perkins ADP at 533, and you see Ginn's at 514, and I seem to want to, and I know I have clicked that button a few times on those guys, just to the points you made. Perkins, let's not forget, it was what 2/3 of the way through the season or so. It was one of the top fab pickups last year. People thought he was going to close, and he started, and he was pretty electric. Had a little of the injury bug, but most of the A's did. And then JT Ginn, I think people might think like, okay, this guy wasn't that good, but the improvements that were made as the season went along, I think are getting overlooked. The strike, like he still had a 25% K rate on the season as a whole, but this is a guy that we saw. The ratios were obviously not ideal as the season went along, but we saw improved swing and miss with JT Ginn. We saw, the home road splits were obviously very important with Ginn. I wrote about him earlier. The fly ball in that ballpark did not bode well for him. That was one thing. So he's a guy late in DCs I like just to stream on the road. Like if you want at post 500. So I'm with you there when it comes to Medina. I think we've seen who Medina is. He could be a serviceable 5 for a lot of teams. He could be a serviceable long man for a lot of teams. But Ginn and Perkins more so than Ginn, to your point, should get the options. I'm 100% with you on this one. I think a lot of that'll get situated out throughout spring training. I think the A's need to make a trade, though. You hit on the biggest part here, not just the Medina, again, Perkins aspect. Like we got Gunnar Hoagland down there who had moments last year. I'm not going to say he's elite, but he improved throughout the minor leagues the last couple of years. So there's optimism, quote unquote, there. Joey Estes has always been someone people like, but he's been kind of rough around the edges of late. But there's a lot of arms down there, to your point, with Oakland. So our Sacramento's. I haven't done that in a long time. But yeah, I think it's a good one. Medina should not be clogging the way for a Perkins or Ginn. I prefer Perkins over Ginn, as you did as well. But I think both should have their chances this year. Maybe not at the beginning of the year, but we'll see both of them. I'd be shocked if both don't have 10, 15 starts each at least this season.
Another reason I like Perkins more is you mentioned kind of this past season, like I would say there's maybe like a 5% chance he's getting saves at some point this season, which is just like a nice little wrinkle to have in there, like another out in case he, maybe because he has not really necessarily stacked, a bunch of like 120, 130 inning seasons here. So it's possible that they would just be like, hey, this guy could be a lights out closer for us. And we've got all these other starting rotation options. But if you get a closer in the 500s in Jack Perkins, I don't think you'd be complaining about them going in that direction. Okay, Bubba, where do you want to go next?
I want to do something similar, and I want to head to Tampa Bay. Like their rotation, Rasmussen, Pepio. You do with what you wish with McClanahan. If he's healthy, he's obviously pitching. That's a big if. I saw a tweet the other day that McClanahan has not pitched since Paul Skeens made his MLB debut. Just let that one sink in for a second. So that's pretty crazy.
That's an amazing tweet.
Yeah, I saw that. I had to like triple check, and I'm like, I think that's right. That's nuts. But so you got McClanahan there, but then it goes to Steven Matz and Joe Boyle. Boyle, former Athletic. I am a fan of what Joe Boyle brings. Obviously, if you're in a whip league, not the greatest thing, but
no.
I'm more focusing on the Steven Matz side of this one. Yes, they signed him. Yes, he's a veteran. They want a guy that could eat innings, but can he really eat innings is the question. He's been better off as a long man or a piggyback situation. And that leads me to the person that most people want to draft in this one. And it's a name we heard a ton at FPAS is Ian Seymour. Seymour is a guy that he got his a decent amount of innings last year with the big club. He got 57 innings, but more importantly, he's thrown like over 140 innings last couple of seasons each. So that's not an issue. Ratios have been outstanding. He only made 5 starts last year, but throughout the minors was pretty much a starter for the Rays. and he has lights out strikeout stuff. Like we're talking 25 to 30% K rates throughout the minors, and even in the with the Rays last season. So he seems like he's one of those next guys. We talk about all these young arms that the Rays continue to just come like bring up and get done. And with Shane Baz out of the way, Ian Seymour's a name that many people that are much smarter than I in the pitching realm are big fans on. And what I've seen looking into him, I've really liked to see. And they gave him a little bit of run in that second half that makes it feel like they want to put him in this rotation at some point in time. It might not be to start the season, but I think he should start the season there. And Steven Matz, I'd hope, is not the one to stop him, but Ian Seymour would be a guy that I think should be in that Rays rotation, and right now is in AAA.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Connelly Early thing where,
Yes.
like, if you just kind of like look at the Rays, all the Rays starters, and just kind of rank them by like how many innings is this guy going to throw in the big league rotation, I would put Seymour ahead of McClanahan, ahead of Matz, and ahead of Boyle. So like Rasmussen, Pepio, they're obviously going to pitch as long as they're healthy. And then I just think Seymour, like he's just a safer bet for 20 plus starts than those other three. And if I kind of had to predict how it would go, I actually think Boyle opens at AAA and Seymour opens up. And like I can actually picture the Rays using Matz as a starter for longer than we might like.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And then, like if Rock or if Boyle is able to kind of take a step forward, then they would love to have him in the rotation, I think. But I don't think they're just going to hand Boyle a rotation spot if he's walking too many guys in the spring. So Ian Seymour, like if you want to draft him, don't let the fact that roster resource is projecting an open at AAA stop you. And I actually had another, while we're talking Rays, Bubba, on the offensive side of things, these aren't ones that I like feel extremely strongly about, but I just think it's worth just kind of keeping an eye on like what the Rays do over the rest of the offseason, because like I think Jacob Melton should be on the opening day roster. And I also think they're going to give Carson Williams every opportunity to win the shortstop job in spring training. Now Carson Williams, of course, 4+ tools and then a well below average hit tool. So no guarantee that Carson Williams wins a job in the spring. But I think the Rays would like him to win the job and then move Taylor Walls into that rover infield spot where he's just playing all over the place. And then, Melton, I don't think the Rays are done making moves. I think they're probably the favorites in my mind to trade for Ketel Marte. Who knows what's involved in like a trade like that? Maybe it's for someone less, maybe it's like a Brendan Donovan type of guy they go get, but like you could see a Josh Lowe going out in one of those deals. And that would clear a spot for Melton. I think Melton's just too good. Like I look at like what I expect from Chandler Simpson, what I expect from Josh Lowe, what I expect from Cedric Mullins. Like at best, it's about what I expect from Melton, but I think Melton's just someone they're more excited about. His defense and offense, like that combo, I don't think they really have that from any of those other three. Josh Lowe was just extremely disappointing last year. So I don't think the Rays are done this offseason, but I would just say don't let the fact that Melton and Carson Williams are per roster resource going to open the year at AAA dissuade you necessarily from taking those guys. I do think they will be up and playing pretty regularly for most of the year.
Yeah, I love the Melton call on that one, especially like Williams. I've heard so many mixed reactions, and I trust your opinion, obviously, on this one. You mentioned the 4 tools. That's kind of the confusion I have with him as well. Is he the 5 tool, next big thing? But he will get his shots. I like Melton a lot. I cover for HQ. I cover AL playing time tomorrow, so I have to look at their minor leagues for a lot, AL West. And I do it a lot. So I looked at Melton a ton last year with Houston. And I kept thinking, why can't he get his shot? And that the Astros are a whole other conundrum in themselves. But you have a guy in Melton who's showcased pretty good power, at least 15+ home runs throughout most stages of the minors the last 3 years. And more importantly, a ton of speed while hitting 250 and 260. Like he's not destroying you in batting average. It's not like he's striking out a ton either. OEP skills are pretty strong. he's everything you want to see from a young ball player who's going to be 25 this year. Like, he's still super, super young, to your point. And that's why I was really excited when he finally got the call with the Astros last year, because it's like, okay, Jake Myers is hurt, Jordan's hurt, shocker, and so many other things. It's like, why are they not letting Melton run, but they didn't let any other guys run? DeCenzo, again, I can go on a while with the Astros, but Melton I like a ton. And it's one of those, like you mentioned, Josh Lowe, Cedric Mullins, like those guys are not, like, Mullins not bad, but Lowe isn't the pillar of health. More importantly, like, why can't Melton play over Chandler Simpson? Like, what are we doing here? Chandler, like, yeah, he might hit for a pretty good average. He's going to steal 70 bases if he played every day, but his defense isn't great. And Melton at least gives you 4 to 5 categories of production. And I know it's fantasy talk, not big league talk, but like, to me, Melton is a better player than Chandler Simpson. And that seems like it gives the Rays a better shot. So I think that's the one. It's like, yeah, the Rays might make more moves. The Rays also have guys that, love to get injured, unfortunately. But Melton's just that good, and I think he should find his way into that lineup. So I'm glad you pointed him out. I think he's a guy that he got traded, and then it kind of just went away, and then he went on the minor leagues and roster resource, so people might kind of forget about him. And he's a guy that you're talking, if you can get like 20, 15, 25, something like that out of a guy going with an ADP of 283, like that's pretty solid as like your outfield, 5, 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah, I think I just give the Rays too much credit to just assume that like they know how good all these guys are, right? Like they know how many wins above replacement they expect all these guys to get over, however many plate appearances. And I just think Melton is gonna outperform all those guys if they all play the same. So it's not, I think like Cedric Mullins is like a classic Rays pickup. Just I'm sure he'll be fine for them. Simpson, like you said, like he is what he is. I don't know how many plate appearances you want to give him. I think they'll give him over 300 and probably under 500, and we'll see where it settles. But I just think Melton, someone they're definitely building around, and they love guys that can play all 3 outfield spots too, which Melton can do. I kind of jumped in there on that one, but so I'll throw another one out here. The Astros. Now this one, I'm not drafting either of these guys really, but they've got Lance McCullers projected to be in the rotation and Spencer Arrighetti projected to open the year at AAA. I actually think there is basically reporting contradicting this. I think Dana Brown is actually on record of saying that it's Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, Spencer Arrighetti. This was before the Burrows trade, but and it might have been before the Ryan Weiss signing, but like Dana Brown basically mentioned Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and Arrighetti as 3 guys that are going to be in the rotation. And he went out of his way to not mention McCullers as one of those guys. And I just think you got to almost look at McCullers as dead money at this point if you're Houston. And, they're going to try to win as many games as possible. Obviously, I think each time you're giving McCullers the ball over some of your other options, you're probably hurting your chances. So I don't think anyone's out here excited to draft Lance McCullers or anything like that. And Arrighetti, not very exciting either, but I think Arrighetti is underpriced right now because people think there's a chance he opens there in the minors.
Yep, Arrighetti has an ADP of 450, and that's just silly. Like, he's gonna, if his arm is healthy, he will be in that rotation on opening day. I saw the reports you're talking about from Dana Brown, and I think it was before the Burrows trade, and Burrows is awesome as well. But let's just be real. Lance McCullers, it was cool. Like, when you were healthy, things were you threw like 85% curveballs. This was a matter of time, but it was good, and he might still be serviceable if like if someone gets blown up, he's coming in for the 5th and 6th. Now, will he take that role? Who knows? But he should not be the guy stopping Lance or Spencer Arrighetti from joining this rotation. I'm with you 100%. Like, I wouldn't have Lance stop Colton Gordon from joining this rotation if we want to go down the list of options.
I like AJ Blabau. I know.
He's go down the list. There's a lot of guys that should not be stopped by Lance McCullers. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm with you on the Spencer Arrighetti. I think it's a great call. He's a guy that's getting way underdrafted, it feels like, and it's like you have to take certain stances in these early drafts, and I'm okay being wrong on guys like an Arrighetti at 450 if all of a sudden, hey, wow, they're actually not going to bring him up. Well, in a draft and hold, he's still starting 20+ games this year. Like you don't have to really, if he's not starting day one, that's fine, but he'll be there plenty of times, and that's a good shot right now. Lance McCullers, I think he needs to retire personally, but that's not my position to tell him to do that.
I mean, I think it might be a buyout situation. I don't know, but I don't think he's going to leave that 17 million.
No, he's not going to. I wouldn't. Like, I don't blame him. I've been playing hardball too. Like, yeah, I could pitch, but yeah.
Where do you want to go next, Bubba?
All right, let's. This is kind of a wide-ranging one. I had it towards the bottom of my list, but it kind of brings. I want to bring it up because of the way we did the Rays and talked about it. Let's just talk about the Cardinals because they've already made a ton of moves. They're already rumored to be, Brendan Donovan. I'd be shocked if he's sitting there come opening day. Same with Nolan Arenado. So that opens up a couple things on roster resource we can move around. Now, maybe these moves don't happen, but it feels like they do. A lot of people are pointing towards Nolan Gorman. Makes sense. I get it. Thomas Caissie I like as well. But if you go down into the minor league realms of things, I want like JJ Wetherholt's a name that I've heard a lot. I don't know if he's going to get that run right away. You have Mason Wynn at shortstop, but I've heard people discuss as he can play third base, he can play second base. Like there's moving parts to JJ Wetherholt. People talk McGonigal, people talk Connor Griffin, rightfully so. Not knocking that at all, but like a JJ Wetherholt is a guy that it kind of feels like he's getting left behind out of the three. And he's still getting drafted plenty early. Don't get me wrong, but it feels like there's an opening for him pretty quickly if a trade happens, and then things will skyrocket in that regard. So JJ Wetherholt is one I wanted to mention. If these moves, I have other ones in St. Louis I don't mind discussing, but that was the primary one first because most will go to Nolan Gorman and Thomas Caissie. Get it? I think JJ Wetherholt's the one that gets the bigger boost if those transactions take place.
Yeah, 100%. My initial read on it was that they were going to just get rid of Arenado by any means necessary and have Wetherholt be the opening day third baseman. Now I think I think Donovan's more likely to get traded than Arenado. I don't know what's going to happen with Arenado. It was kind of funny, like on his last game of 2025. I don't even know why I was watching, but the Cardinals fans gave him like this standing O as he walked off the field. And it almost seemed to me like they were trying to give him like as loud and long of a standing ovation as possible to like force the team to not bring him back. Like, all right, we've said goodbye. But they've also, they're kind of posturing that they don't want to buy him out. I don't necessarily know what's going to happen with Arenado, but I do think Donovan gets dealt. I think one way or another, Wetherholt's playing every day on opening day because, like of all the guys, like, and I might bring up another shortstop prospect or two, but of all the shortstop prospects who have not debuted, I think Wetherholt is the most likely to be on the opening day roster and playing regularly because he's the one who basically has mastered AAA of all these guys. Like, we can all kind of project that Connor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal, Colt Emerson, Aiden Miller, like they're all going to mash AAA if they go there. But Wetherholt already has gone there and mashed AAA. And if they don't open the year with him, then they can't get a prospect promotion incentive pick. So, I think Wetherholt's a pretty safe bet to be on the opening day roster, even though roster resource has him in the minors. Well, where else did you want to hit on with the Cards? Because I agree with, like, to me, similarly to kind of the Rays, like I don't think they're done this offseason.
I don't think they're done this offseason. So again, it's going to open up possibilities. Now, the outfield seems like it's intact. Joshua Baez is a very popular name that gets thrown around there. But I actually wanted to head to, unless you want to talk to those guys, I wanted to go to the rotation for another one here because you have okay, this is bad. Like, I'm a Liberatore fan. He's not an ace on any team. Let's be real. Dustin May, maybe they could figure things out. I'm not in love. But Andre Palante is the biggest pitch to contact guy since Miles Mikolas, so they have that going for him. McGreevy, he's shown signs, but he rarely goes deep into games, but that could be an option. Kyle Leahy, not a fan of. Again, could be wrong. The reason I'm very stern on those statements is they just traded for Richard Fitz and Hunter Dobbins. And those are two arms that I think are pretty strong, and they traded for a reason. And I think they will get their shots. But more importantly, why are we pushing Quinn Matthews farther away from the major league level? Maybe things have struggled at AAA, but he seemed like he was so close recently. And so I'm just looking at the starting rotation right now with Leahy and Palante and I guess McGreevy in there. And I see a Dobbins, a Fitz, and even a Quinn Matthews, who all should be getting. It feels almost like it's the Rays or the Red Sox situation here, where someone's getting a call up, because like Fitz, we've seen be serviceable. Dobbins has had his moments in the minor leagues where you're thinking, okay, he's real close to maybe figuring things out. And then there's Quinn Matthews, used to be one of the higher pitching prospects, and we're just kind of like holding them back more here. Maybe I'm just too optimistic on this one, James. You know these guys better than I would, but there seems like there's a glaring weakness in this rotation that should be solved by some of these AAA issues.
Yeah, so I didn't include this specific rotation just because I just don't know what they're going to do, and I kind of like Kyle Leahy. I am at least intrigued. I like his fastball. I know he's older, but like I would much rather see him in the rotation than Palante again, obviously, and frankly, than Dustin May as well.
Yes,
but
that move is baffling, but okay.
Now, as for the prospects you mentioned, the guys that are expected to open at AAA, I think Fitz to me is the target of the three. Like I think he's the most ready to at least be someone that you can stream in good matchups. Mm-hmm. Dobbins, I kind of get the sense with Dobbins that they could probably keep him at AAA for a few months, maybe work on some stuff. I know, coming back from that knee injury. But I think of him as more kind of like a number 5. And then Quinn Matthews, like he's just a total wild card in spring training, because I think Quinn Matthews could go to spring training and, we could be getting reports like March 6th that like he's put himself in the mix for a rotation spot because he just struck out 8 guys in 3 2/3 innings or whatever. But he was also just pretty consistently mediocre last year in the upper levels, and the control has been at times a fairly big issue, especially at AAA. So I think Matthews to me is just a straight flyer. Like you might get nothing out of him, you might get 150 innings out of him. I definitely think you'll get double-digit starts out of Richard Fitz. It just might not be at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I think I took Leahy in my most recent DC. Maybe I'm just a sucker for the fact that they, it's kind of an unknown what he's going to look like when he's fully stretched out. But yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not the only guys that we've talked about at all with regards to this rotation that I've drafted are Leahy and Fitz. I haven't touched the four guys listed above.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong with Lee. Like he's shown signs of, like you said, the fastball. There's been some swing and miss. His ADP's 568, so like go for it. There's really nothing wrong with it at that point.
I mean, like I wouldn't like him if he was going like a
like I look at that, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like I'd be all over. I can see the appeal 100% because he should. When you're at that point of a DC, you're shooting for guys that can get 10 plus starts on the year. We're gonna figure it out. Like he's in the rotation for now, and yeah, the Dustin May move. That's just don't know, but I digress.
Okay, so there's another really messy depth chart right next to St. Louis, and that's in Kansas City, and they've got Michael Massey and Kyle Isbell slated for strong side platoon work. I don't really see it, especially with Massey. Like they've already said that Jonathan India is going to be the second or play second base. They're not going to play Jonathan India in the outfield anymore. Maybe they could DH India and play Massey at second base, but I mean, you might get. Like if you start India and have Massey in a strong side platoon again, they might combine for like 16 homers next year. Carter Jensen will hit more than 16 homers next year. It's just a question of how many he hits. I think he's going to, like we talked about the White Sox, how they've got like Teal as the catcher, Caro as the DH. I think this is even more likely to be that setup with Jensen and Sal Perez playing very regularly in the same lineup. And so I also see Lane Thomas on the bench, projected to be on the short side of a platoon with Kyle Isbell. And maybe that happens because Kyle Isbell is a good defender in center field. But I think he was basically the worst hitter in baseball that played as much as he did last year. If not him, it might have been Michael Massey. But I think giving Kyle Isbell another 135 starts, I just can't picture them limiting Lane Thomas's playing time that much. I'm sure they gave him some assurances that you're going to be playing more than short side platoon role when they signed him.
Yeah, I'm really glad you picked this one because I had Carter Jensen in bold on my sheet. That I love him. I have him as a top 8 catcher in fantasy coming into draft season. I think could be better. Where you were hinting at how many home runs does a kid hit? Like the hit tool is as legit as it comes, and you just don't sit that on the bench. Especially on a Royals team that it's good, but it needs stuff after, like Garcia's Witt, Pasquantino, Salvi. Can Cags figure it out? After that, it's so like they need every at bat they can get out of Carter Jensen. So I'm with you, catcher, DH, and that also the DH can also help Salvi stay in the lineup more. Who, even though he's gonna be 36 years old, continues to hit 30+ home runs and be a monster. So I'm with you on the Carter Jensen thing, 100%. Like Jonathan India should not be your primary DH; he should be the second baseman because Mount Massey erupted a few years ago, and now it's just dormant. You can move on from him.
Very dormant.
Yeah, you can like it's cool. It's a fun nickname that Ryan came up with, but it can go, and you can platoon there somewhere else. It's definitely Carter Jensen's world, and I'm there. And I'm glad you mentioned Lane Thomas because I was actually digging into him last week for some weird reason, and it's like we all remember how bad the struggles were last year against right-handed pitching. Like it was just like, and the second half of the previous season, it was horrific. But then it's like, okay, let's not forget who Lane Thomas was prior to that. Like he was very, very good. He's been battling injuries. Like this is a guy that we were drafting as a locked-in starting outfield. He had 15 homers, 32 steals. That was with a half a season of disaster. 28-20 the year before, hitting 268. That was 2023. It was only a couple of years ago. It's not like we're that far off. The talent levels still could come back to the point we're trying to make here, and he's a million times better than Kyle Isbell, even if half that talent comes back, to your point. So that's an interesting one that I think is getting somewhat overlooked in draft season is the Lane Thomas one. Like Carter Jensen, people are either all in or all out on him. Right. Like Lane Thomas, ADP's 419, a guy that we could legit see as a starting outfielder at some point in time. That's pretty good to focus on. So that's one I'm really pumped that you picked up on, that you threw out there, because I think there's a world where he's only 30, he's not that old yet in baseball terms, that if we get a resurgence to even a 15-15 guy, he just puts Kyle Isbell in the dust. So I'm with you on this.
Awesome. Yeah, glad we could figure out that mess. I mean, it's a fun top 4 or 5 of the lineup, but man, it's a mess after that.
Real quick, I'm going to bug you with a prospect question.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Caglione?
Buying.
Okay,
I'm buying.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering, because like again, it's kind of like Carter Jensen. People are either all in or all out, and it's like you look at his hit tool. Like you've obviously dug into it. Like the quality of contact was still very strong. Like it was still very, very good, and it's hard to just watch it all disappear. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I like the shot on Cags. I think he's, he could hit 30+ homers this year. I would not be surprised at all.
Beautiful.
All right. I've still got some shorter ones, Bubba. I don't know where you want to go next.
Yeah, I got a couple just kind of to throw out there. Like if we're going back to kind of speculating on rotations, the Tigers. It's tough because obviously Skubal is sticking around unless he gets traded, which is a joke to me, but you never know. Then there's Flaherty, Mize, Reese Olson. They signed Drew Anderson. Like I legit could see all of them sticking in there, but there's obviously injury concerns with Olson and maybe some other situations here. I want to mention Troy Melton. I think it might be where you're going with this one. very talented arm. Another one that FPAS, like our buddy Paul Sporer, is in love with Troy Melton, not just because he's a homer, but Troy Melton was actually really, really good. He was a primary starter in the minors, worked more so out of the bullpen or as a piggyback with the Tigers, had a sub-3 ERA, over 45 innings pitched. The strikeout numbers dropped off pretty dramatically at the big league level, which makes me wonder a few things. But again, first stint in the bigs, I'm not going to let it ruin things for me. I think the skill set's just very, very good from what we saw in the minors. He's only going to be 25 this year, so he's still super young. He's a guy that might be a long man, might get still might get plenty. He's the first man up, let's put it that way. And I think there's a legit chance we would see him to start the season with the Tigers and the rotation, because my question is, is Drew Anderson really the guy that's keeping him out? Because the other guys I could see keeping him out, or is Reese Olson not ready yet? That's another question. So Troy Melton's the one I wanted to bring up as another starter that roster resource has in the minors, and rightfully so for now. But I think there's a legit chance we see him really quick.
Yeah, I had this on my list for sure, and it's I like the way you laid it out, because it's not. I don't think roster resources doing anything wrong here necessarily, just at this stage of the offseason. But Troy Melton, I feel pretty confident will go to spring training with a chance to be in the big league rotation. And to me, he's just better than those guys at the bottom, like Anderson especially. It's not like they paid Anderson so much that he's got to be in the rotation all year. I think it's just a nice depth piece to have when you're not getting 150 innings out of Reese Olson, and you're going to need some depth throughout the season. I think that's where Drew Anderson comes in. And I think Melton, they would want to sort of emerge and be kind of one of their top 2 or 3 starters this season. And so I think he has that type of upside. I love the pitches, love the weak contact. So I'm drafting Melton at cost right now, even though it's not a guarantee he's in the big league rotation. I just think, it's definitely a draft talent, draft skills over role situation here with Melton.
Agreed.
Okay. Let's do another quick pitching one. Parker Messick versus Logan Allen with the Guardians. Both lefties, both kind of 4-5 types. I just think Messick's a better version than Allen. Allen still has a minor league option remaining. So, of course, there'll be a job battle between those two, certainly. And there might even be a more expanded job battle than just those two, and maybe even for more than just one spot. But I'm just not really buying that Parker Messick would lose on a rotation bid to Logan Allen. I'm not all over Messick necessarily, but I think he's definitely like a number 4, number 5, whereas Allen to me is more like a number 5, number 6.
Yeah, no, I agree. I almost put this one down because it is interesting to me. Like, it stood out to me when I was doing my SP rankings that I got in the top 100 ADP is Parker Messick, and where's Logan Allen? Nowhere to be found. And that kind of, so it made me dig into the roster resource page more and kind of see where things were. Then I saw Parker Messick's in AAA, and I'm thinking, okay, I can get it. Okay, again, they're doing their thing, but Logan Allen is at best a spot starter in case of emergency, like break glass in case of emergency guy for Cleveland. He shouldn't be a regular in that rotation. Parker Messick proved that he should get some run there. And he had a couple of really great starts towards the end of the season as the Guardians continue their year-end tradition of trying to make a playoff run or making a playoff run each and every year. So, yeah, I'm with you on Parker Messick. I think that's one that should get there, a guy that isn't going to cost you too much on draft day and might give you more than you bargained for.
Bubba, who's going to be at the back of that Giants rotation?
I was hoping we weren't talking about this team. No, I'm just kidding.
Trevor McDonald, lots of smart people drafting him. I think Blade Tidwell is a really nice sleeper right now. But they've got Kai-Wei Teng listed as the number 5 starter ahead of those guys. I'm sure, again, that'll probably be a battle in camp, and they're probably not done adding rotation help. But how do you see that playing out?
Ideally, the added rotation help is what I'm hoping for. But it's going to be a battle. Might be the professional word there. It might be more like a pillow fight. But it's between Tang, who actually I like his strikeout stuff. It's more of how deep into games can he go, because And if he doesn't walk guys, like if you go back and I talked about him a lot, like one of the last Fab episodes last year, and if he's not walking guys, he actually had really good starts. Shocker, I know that's what you can say for a lot of guys, but he really had good starts. It wasn't just kind of like, okay, he was serviceable. So I get the appeal for giving Tang a shot there, but to your point, there's a couple other young arms like there's Tidwell who people like a ton, and I get it, and he's shown that he can get it done in AAA. Hasn't really got his cup of coffee. Trevor McDonald's he looked really good also, but I also want to just throw out like I don't know if we can. I know we've seen enough, but can we give up on Hayden Birdsong just yet? Because they can still make mechanical changes, and he was supposed to be one of the next big things. And then Carson Whisenhunt was the stud last year at AAA, and like it's like there's my point is, and that's why you kind of set me up for this. Is it's almost like the A's. There's a lot of mouths to feed here, and it's going to be one of those that either the Giants make a trade, which there's been rumors for, or it's just they're going to do it like they did last year. You're going to see all these guys get like 5 to 10 starts throughout the season, and one guy might just stick with it. That might just be what happens. I can't put my finger on. I have a share of almost each one of those guys I mentioned. I'm pretty sure at least one in my drafts. I like Tang the most just 'cause I think they give him the shot out the gate, but I don't love Tang. Let's put it that way. Like I think either Tidwell or Whisenhunt is the main guy I'd want back there. I just think those are their top prospects. Those are the guys they want to be great, and I want to see that. But it's a disaster, an absolute mess. And I hope they trade like 3 of them for somebody very, very good.
Yeah, so I mean, I've really never been a Whisenhunt guy. Just not for me. But I have been a big Hayden Birdsong guy.
It's not like he's that far removed from us all, like being so optimistic about him. I know it was ugly. It got bad, but man,
I went back and watched his last AAA start this last year, or like the last start of his season, basically, and like he was still just racking up the Ks. Control was an issue pretty consistently at AAA, but like he hasn't lost the bat missing stuff, the stuff that we liked in the first place. He is still young. Maybe they could eventually try him at closer.
Yeah. There you go.
I do have Birdsong. I do have Tidwell. I think those are the 2 I've got shares of there. But obviously, I would like a piece whichever guy gets those last spots in that rotation. It is certainly a nice team context throwing to Patrick Bailey pitching in San Francisco. So
yeah, I wish I could give a better answer, but there's nothing there that like they're not even saying anything.
Right,
it's very quiet.
Okay, do you got any more here, Bubba?
I just got a couple quick hitters. It's more so just because of like what we've heard. They've actually said things, and I might mispronounce the last name, so please correct me. But Owen, is it Caissie or Cassie?
Caissie.
Okay.
Oh, Caissie. Yeah.
Owen Caissie. I just want to bring him up because they've actually said and again, Coach Speak. I know Dr. Dave, if he's listening, I apologize for listening and believing this, but they're saying they want to give him every opportunity to play. Like they want to get as many at bats for him. My problem is okay, well, you have Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, and PCA. That's going to be tough to work out. So this is where it gets interesting. Is Moises Ballesteros actually going to get that job at DH, or do they put Seiya there and put Caissie in the outfield? That's the one I'm trying to wrap my head around, is because I like the idea if Caissie can get regular at bats. I think where he's going, that's a really nice appeal come draft day. But everyone likes Ballesteros. We like to hit to a Ballesteros. Are they going to keep 3 catchers technically and have one just full-time DH? That's where I find it tough for a team to do that, but maybe they will.
Yeah, I do not have a great feel for who wins that spot out of Ballesteros and Caissie. I think it makes almost more sense to go with Caissie if he has a really strong spring, just because I think that's kind of giving you the more optimal defense. And I think you want to keep Seiya Suzuki healthy and in the lineup, obviously. And so I think it makes more logical sense to me to go with the outfielder with some defensive chops in Caissie, and then try to preserve Suzuki throughout the season with the DH spot there. it's just that, they love Ballesteros' bat so much. That's the tough thing with these. Like, if you're a 5'9" DH only prospect who's probably going to get platooned, it could be tough out there. Go ask Willie Calhoun.
That's good. That's a good call right there.
But yeah, I totally see where you're going with that call out. How about this one? I'm not even disagreeing with Roster Resources projected lineup in terms of the people in the lineup, but they've got with the Marlins, they've got Graham Pauley at first base and Connor Norby at third base. I think those are flipped. I think it's Pauley at third base and Norby at first base. And it's not a big deal, but I just think like I'm very confident in Pauley playing at least against righties and maybe on a more regular basis than even that at third base, because defensively he's just so much better than Norby. And I think Norby is the one who's sliding down the defensive spectrum and could get pushed here in the coming years to just be a bit more impactful at the plate than he has been. So doesn't really even change values that much, but I wanted to just mention Pauley again because I think his defensive value at third base is kind of getting overshadowed by the fact that at Roster Research they're listing him as the first baseman.
No, I like that. Gives you dual eligibility. Guy that used to like 2020 in AAA recently, a couple years ago, and his ADP is like 565 for a guy, regardless first or third, it should be starting, and that does have appeal. So don't disagree with that at all. Last one I have for you, and it's this. If people are still listening, this is probably why I've saved it to the end. It's the Nationals, because this team is atrocious right now, like bad. Like the top of the lineup's okay, but the rest of it gets, the bullpen especially is bad. But two names I want to mention, and it's Harry Ford, who everybody was all excited about in the trade, and I was like trying to temper things down. Like they haven't projected at AAA. I get it. At the same time, I don't get it, because like Riley Adams has been a serviceable catcher too. That's fine. But you'd imagine Ford finds a way to be at least a catcher too, and then you see him slide into DHing. You see him slide into backup catcher. He could play first base where they have Luis Garcia platooning right now. That's a whole other conversation. My point is, this team is a mess. And then I'll let you hit on that, but I also just want to throw out one other thing for you deep degenerate draft and hold people. If you just want a dart throw, their starting rotation right now is Gore, Cavalli, Brad Lord, Josiah Gray, who hasn't pitched in a couple of years, and then Forrest Griffin, who they recently acquired. This name isn't like great, but if you just want an innings eating machine, I'm just going to throw out Jake Irvin, who again threw 180 innings last year. The dude just pitches every day, and that's what you want for a draft and hold. You can stream at will. They have him like buried at AAA, and I just don't see how that happens when you look at the initial onslaught of that team. So the Nationals have a lot of moving pieces. Like even like I just went over Luis Garcia is now platooning at first base. There's a lot going on there in Washington.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I do have some more intriguing names that we can close on than Jake Irvin. But the like Harry Ford, I think the whole thing there is, send everyone to camp, and you kind of hope that Harry Ford wins a job, and you just DFA Riley Adams from there. He's been worth below replacement level basically the last few years. So I don't think DFAing Riley Adams is too big of a problem. And then, Jake Irvin, I totally buy that. I love Cade Cavalli. I actually kind of like Mackenzie Gore again at his price, but I would probably say Irvin starts more games than the other three guys there.
Agreed.
Okay, so a quick one. This is kind of like the opposite of the Lenyn Sosa thing, where he's projected on the bench, but we think he's going to basically get more closer to like a starter's amount of workload. With the Dodgers, Hyesong Kim is projected as the starting second baseman in a platoon as the lefty hitter. I just don't think he's going to get anywhere near that much playing time. Like I think he's going to be up, for most or all the season, but I just think he's going to be a bench infielder who will get some starts at second base against righties. But if you're projecting Hyesong Kim to be a strong side platoon player all season, I just think you're going to be very disappointed in the overall plate appearances.
Yep, don't disagree there. Dave Roberts kind of proved already that he's not the biggest I'm going to play Hyesong Kim, even though I say I'm going to play Hyesong Kim guy. So I'm with you. It's almost like they'd rather have him come in late and steal bases, like Dave Roberts-esque.
That's
where he fits that mold much better.
Yeah, he's going to steal bases for sure. He's just not going to play very much. And then Colorado, you could never, like with Tampa Bay, I'm assuming they're going to put their best team on the field. Colorado,
not so much.
Not necessarily assuming that. And look, like I've never really been a Zach Veen guy. I don't think there's any guarantee that he's opening the year in a prominent role. And I wouldn't be surprised if they give Tyler Freeman a bunch of playing time again. He hit 281 and they let him off. He had 72 games as the leadoff hitter last year, while probably being one of the top guys on the team in batting average. So like, it just wouldn't be surprising to me if Tyler Freeman gets to play a bunch again. And I don't think Zach Veen's very good, so I would not assume he's opening in a prominent role, although he does have a clear path there.
Nope, I like that one as well. Tyler Freeman's one that we get a lot of questions about what to do on draft day with Tyler Freeman. It's like, well, he's a Rocky, so good luck, but he should play. Like, you don't know what the Rockies are going to do. Like, you said it best. Will they put the best here out there? Probably not, but that's what they do.
They're going to put the team that they want to put out there.
Exactly.
Going to be out there. Okay, so Bubba, let's close with this. I got 3 prospects, 3 really buzzy prospects.
Yep.
I'm sure some people would say that 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 of these guys are long shots to open the season in the majors, but I think they all have at least a 25 to 30% chance. Elmer Rodriguez with the Yankees. I was really kind of blown away by how much I liked him after doing a deep dive on him earlier this offseason. And, they've got Ryan Yarbrough listed at the SP5 spot on the depth chart. They've got Luis Heel at the SP3 spot. I would assume that one of those 2 guys could be beaten out either via an injury or just Rodriguez pitching really well and Ryan Yarbrough being Ryan Yarbrough. And I just think if you like the fact Rodriguez is already on the 40-man, he threw 150 innings last year. Like he is really, really good. He, among like elite or high-end pitching prospects, I think he might have been the best ground ball pitcher in the minors last year. Had the best walk rate of his career at AA last year. Only made 1 start at AAA, so that's why this is a bit more of a kind of a bold prediction, I guess you could say. But I would not be surprised at all if Elmer Rodriguez won a spot in the Yankees rotation in spring training. And then Colt Emerson with the Mariners and Connor Griffin with the Pirates. I could throw Kevin McGonigal in there too with the Tigers and even Aiden Miller with the Phillies, but I just think it's more wide open for Emerson and Griffin as the depth charts currently stand. Like, I just think Colt Emerson is going to go to spring training, and if he is just okay, he's going to open the year at AAA. But if he's really good in spring training, I think he could just spend the whole year in the majors and give them a shot at a PPI pick. And then Connor Griffin, I think with him, it's just all about whether the 2 sides come to an agreement on a long-term extension this spring. Those deals almost always happen in the spring. They don't usually happen at this stage of the offseason. So I'm not surprised that we haven't heard anything about that yet, but I think if the 2 sides might be motivated to come to an agreement this spring, and if that happens, I think Griffin is the starting shortstop for the Pirates. So any reaction to Elmer Rodriguez with the Yankees, Colt Emerson with the Mariners, and Connor Griffin with the Pirates there?
Yeah, quick thoughts. Elmer, Eric Cross was doing AL prospects with me, and he opened my eyes to him, so I dug into him, and I was very impressed with what we saw to everything you mentioned. And Yarbrough is a better long reliever anyways, and so I could see Elmer starting the year, at least until Rodon gets back and seeing where it goes from there. So I like that one a lot. His ADP is like 570. Emerson's very intrigued.
Just quickly, I will say in my most recent DC, someone took Rodriguez in like the 25th round. So it's just
I saw I picked 334. That might be the one then. Holy crikeys. Yeah,
like
that's impressive.
I know his ADP is like low, but I just want people to know like you can't really sit on this guy anymore.
He's gone over like the last 7 drafts, even he's gone 466, 497 also. So yeah,
oh great,
he's creeping, up. So yeah, I do like him. I'm glad you mentioned him. I think that's a name that doesn't get enough buzz just yet. Emerson's very intriguing because he's basically ready, it feels like, and if he cracks it, he could play third base. Now you got a shortstop, third base guy, middle infield, corner infield, which is so valuable. So I like that. And then I had Connor Griffin on my sheet, but I left him off thinking, okay, we'll wait till the end on this one and throw him out there. But I think everyone's waiting because I think it more comes down to like, okay, does Nick Gonzalez get the bump? Like who gets booted in this one? And that'll be quite interesting.
Well, Nick Gonzalez doesn't get as much shade as like Gavin Lux, but you know, he also hit like 5 homers last year.
Yeah. Preach, because Ryan loves drafting him like he's my perfect guy. That I'm like, no, he stinks. But yes, continue on this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Nick Gonzalez, I think will get playing time this year somewhere, like sparingly maybe, but he's not like if he could open the year as the starting shortstop, and Connor Griffin could spend a few months at AAA. Like that's you can't rule anything out, but yeah, Nick Gonzalez, yeah, he's been worth 2.2 wins in 225 games so far in the majors. Has 14 homers in 225 games. So
it's pretty good. But we play 225 games a season. That'll work.
Doesn't seem like an everyday player to me.
No, not quite.
All right, Bubba, we did it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you let people know where they can follow along with all your great content?
Well, thanks for having me. Always enjoy it. Yeah, I'm on X at BDentric, and then the Bubba and the Bloom podcast, Bubba and the Bloom Patreon with Ryan Bloomfield. That's what we're doing most of the work, and then the Bench with Bubba podcast. So you can find me around those areas. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Always a pleasure, James, and I look forward to doing it again and probably seeing you in Vegas in a couple months.
Absolutely. All right, this has been this week's RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Again, the Dynasty rankings are fully updated. YouTube 15 if you want 50% off those.